So I'm taking the exact opposite approach, and I'm treating them really well. And typically those buyers are going to end up paying more. And now when you're providing the type of service and value that you are, you can command a higher price by doing that as well.
All right, guys, here we go now. It is time to unlock more doors to deals. We're real estate investors here. We're real estate agents here, and we all have one thing in common. We believe that we can. We can live the life of our purpose. We can create financial freedom. We can build a better life for those that we love, and we can live the life of our dreams. I don't care if you're trying to do your first deal or your 500th this year. You can get to the next level, and we're here to help. Welcome to Doors to Deals. I'm your host and founder, Jim Manning. Today's episode can be found on doorstodeals.com/060. Today we have Justin Van Ripper on the line. Justin's a buddy of mine here in St. Louis. Been running a really strong co-wholesaling operation where he basically finds wholesalers and finds end turnkey buyers and puts together and packages deals and makes a profit with very little overhead. It's a business model that can work at a really high level for a lot of people. So excited to have him on the line, excited to share some of the valuable information that he has for you. I took a lot from this. He talks about Facebook lead generation. He talks about being consistent. He talks about a lot of the key fundamentals that you're going to need to know and do well to be successful in real estate. So before we get started, just a couple announcements. If you go to doorstodeals.com/060, there's information on there about funding. And if you need some cash to do some deals in St. Louis, we've accessed over $20 million that we lend out to local investors here. If you're a wholesaler and want to collaborate, we want to buy wholesale deals, and we also can help you put together deals that you might think are dead. So definitely go to doorstodeals.com/060 for more information on how we can help you there. And then agents, we really specialize in taking $2 million producers into $7, $8, $9, $10 million producers, helping you double, triple, quadruple your business, and also unlock financial freedom in the process. So one day you can stop working if you want to. So for more information, go to doorstodeals.com/060 on these resources and all the other resources that we have available for you. So, all right, no more talk from me. Let's get going on the interview. All right, what's up, man? Justin here. Happy to have you. We've been friends now for the last year or two, local investor here in St. Louis, and you are doing some amazing things, my friend. I love your business model. I love what you're doing, and I'm really grateful and appreciative and thrilled. And I know Caleb is as well for you to kind of hop on our Doors to Deals podcast and share some of the things that are going well for you. So So why don't you just kind of give us just a quick little background on you and kind of like we'll get going on this call.
Sure, absolutely. And yeah, thanks for having me. So yeah, a quick background on me. I've been a full-time real estate investor for around 10 years. And to get into kind of the strategy I use today, it'll help to actually go back to the beginning. So when I first started, I kind of just stumbled upon, this method, which I call buyer first wholesaling. Kind of stumbled upon it, and it worked really, really well for me. So essentially, what was happening is I had really just one main guy. One guy was sending me a lot of deals, and I mean, I'm talking about like he'd send me multiple properties pretty much on a daily basis. Yeah. So then all I had to do was go find a buyer for it. That was my part in the deals. So I didn't do any seller advertising. So I didn't spend any money or time doing that. So I spent nothing with sellers. And so I got all my deals from him. And then I simply found the buyer. And I did this, and it was really, really easy, like stupid easy. I couldn't believe, the amount of money that I was making. And I'm like doing nothing essentially. So I remember specifically, I was barely removed out of college at this point. And I remember looking at my bank account one day, and there was, 80 some thousand, I think maybe $83,000 or something that was in my bank account. So that means, all my expenses, both business and personal, had already been accounted for and already paid. And I still had, like over $80,000 in my account. And I'm very fresh out of college at this point. So fast forward, what happened? I got greedy and I decided I didn't want to, split these deals. And I wanted to make bigger assignment fees. I heard of, all these other people on social media and everything like that. And they're like, yeah, made a $40,000 assignment fee or wholesale fee. So I got greedy and said I wanted the same thing. So I was going to start making bigger spreads. So I started learning all about seller advertising, how to do it, how to talk to sellers, all of this. I also built up a team like everyone suggested to do. So I had a full-time assistant, a couple acquisition managers, and all of a sudden with all of that, my overhead was about $15,000 a month. That was coming out of my pocket. So I had to, do several wholesale deals and make a decent amount of money each month just to simply, cover my overhead and cover my bills. And we were still doing deals with this model. We were, but the costs were just insane. And 15 was just the standard. So then I may go to an event. I went to an event that I paid $5,000 for. And so I had all these other expenses too. Like the 15 were just reoccurring. And we were doing deals and everything. But I remember, I'll never forget, I was like sitting at my desk, sitting at my computer, and I get a notification, and it was from Bank of America, and it said, account alert, balance below $25. And so like that was a huge, kind of wake up call for me that, okay, this is obviously not going well. Something is not going right. So I knew I had to, basically reevaluate everything. And so what I did is I went back to the very beginning and remembered how I did that. And I was like, why did I ever stop that? So what I ended up doing was I completely cut out my seller advertising 100%. That was at least $10,000 a month of my marketing, of my expenses was a marketing budget towards, these motivated sellers, which by the way, I think about the stats are like 5% of all sellers are actually motivated. Not to mention it takes on average 45 seller leads to get one deal. And the average cost is $3,600. So you just think about that. You got to talk to 45 different sellers. So that's going to take a ton of time, and it costs you $3,600 per deal to do the deal. So it's very, very time consuming and very expensive to do seller advertising. So I decided I was going to completely cut it out. And I didn't have that guy anymore. I didn't have the guy that was sending me, all these properties. So I did have to kind of reinvent some of the ways that I was going to find deals. But I made it a point that my overhead was insane before, and I was going to completely eliminate that. I was completely eliminate seller advertising. So that's what I do basically to this day is I wholesale properties. I also acquire rentals typically that we're selling via seller financing. But I acquire properties as well, but wholesaling is still usually my main bread and butter. And I do that with zero seller advertising. And that's what I kind of call the buyer first wholesaling method.
Okay. So walk me through. So you build up this team, the $15,000 a month overhead, and like walk me through like why you like what was driving you when you were kind of like building this bigger operation. What do you think?
What was so it was really about I'm seeing on social media and everything where other people are making $40,000 profits on these deals, and I'm like, man, if I just do my own seller advertising and build my own team, then I don't have to split any proceeds with anyone that would be bringing me the deal. And so what kind of drove it, I guess honestly, it was just greed and wanting to build up that operation. But now the way that I run it, it's extremely simple. For a long time there, I did it with literally just by myself. So, I had basically 3 full-time people that were working for me. And after I cut them out, I was doing it all myself. Within literally a few months of cutting all of that out, I brought this buyer in from California, kind of convinced him to work in the St. Louis market. Not necessarily convinced, but I just told him the types of properties that he could expect here. As you guys probably know, California property prices are a lot more expensive. So I got him to start investing in St. Louis. And in 1 month, or maybe it was about 6 weeks with that person, one person, I brought in $84,000. And I had no marketing expense. I didn't spend a penny
How
talking
much?
to motivated sellers.
How'd you find the California buyer?
Yeah, so he was on my email list actually. So what I did is I sent an email out to everyone that was on my list. And I mean, there's various ways of getting people added to your list, but I sent out an email and it was like, I created a video on how to buy properties with very little money out of pocket. At the time, this was a handful of years ago. It wasn't as well known as it is today. I mean, it still was pretty well known, but it's essentially the burst strategy, right? So I told them, hey, you go in, and as long as you can buy it for 75% or less of ARV, you can go in, you can buy it, rehab it, rent it out, refinance, and get most of your money, if not all of your money, back out on the refi. So now you own this rental property with, very little money, maybe even no money out of pocket. So I created a video explaining how all of that worked, and then simply just said, I can find these types of properties for you. I can also provide you with, like contractor referrals and stuff like that. So I sent out an email. Guy watched the video and said, this sounds awesome. Let's get started. And within our first conversation, I think he had the first property under contract like a week later. It all moved. It moved very quickly. But that's how I found that buyer.
It's funny is one of the things that I've learned throughout the years is like how simple things can be, and like sometimes you can get caught up in, oh, it's got to be this big complicated thing, or like how am I going to find this buyer? And you had this one buyer that you were able to bring in 84,000 for. And then are you still working with this guy today, or is he no longer buying?
Yeah, I'm not actually working with that particular person anymore. This was a handful of years ago. So he's no longer buying from me. But I pick up, buyers like that pretty frequently, as long as you present it in the right way. And when I present, kind of this BRRRR method, and all I did was create a PowerPoint presentation, and then I used like QuickTime to do a screen recording. And so I just simply was doing a voiceover for this PowerPoint presentation, and then I just had to put it on YouTube. So all this, of course, was free, and then I sent that. I can send that video out to buyers, and when you look at it, and why not? How is it not appealing when you figure you can buy rental properties for very little money, maybe even no money out of pocket, plus have 25% equity, plus get cash flow. So I mean, it's pretty easy sell to get people interested. And then what you're letting them know is that, hey, I can provide these types of properties for you. Even if you're out of state, I can provide referrals for you if you need them.
I think what's so amazing is you came from like a value first proposition to these people, it sounds like, and you had the presentation. You're like, hey, this is how you can make money. This is how I can help you. You showed your value, and then it just was a no-brainer. We've been talking about value so much at Three Doors on the podcast and just with our agents and stuff like that. And I really think that everyone listening in right now, like that just re-solidifies that. He grew his business by literally providing more value than other wholesalers to this guy, showing them, here's the exact numbers, here's the money you're going to make. And then this guy bought how many properties from you?
I think that was 6. I think it was 6 properties, and that resulted in 84,000 in a little over a month.
80, wow.
So what's so fascinating to me about this is like the overlap even with wholesaling and just being a buyer's agent on the side. Now, Justin's not licensed, right? So I correct, right? Justin, you don't have your real estate
Correct.
license. So Justin's an investor. So what investors do is they just get a house under contract to buy and then they flip the contract. They assign the contract to the end buyer. So when he says he made $84,000 spread, maybe he bought one house for 10 and sold it to this end buyer for 20, and that was an eighth of the way there. That was 10 of the 80K, right? And like, what's the other interesting thing about this is, so like whether you're an agent or like one in a wholesaler or an invest, like it's the same exact process in this case. You find the person that wants to buy the real estate, right? Um, the other interesting thing is I think about this a lot, is that not all relationships are created equally. One person helped Justin bring in $84,000. That's one quality person that can have that dramatic of an impact on your business and your life. That's fantastic, man. That's absolutely fantastic. So when you built this relationship with this person, or really when you build a relationship with anybody new, um, it feels like you're kind of trying to provide value first. Like, do you do anything different now than what you did before? Is there anything like that has evolved when you work with buyers?
Yeah, I love that you guys mentioned that. I highly, highly recommend this book called The Go Giver. It's very, very simple read. You can get through it really quickly, and the principles in there are amazing. I'm reading it again right now for probably the sixth time, if I had to guess. I've read it quite a few times, but I'm going back through it again. And every time that I do, it just gets me inspired, gets me excited, and I love it. But a lot of it is giving and providing value. That's a huge, huge thing. So I love that you guys are, kind of teaching that and promoting that too. And Jim, to your point, I always think of it as like the 80-20 rule. I think it's called the Pareto Rule, I believe, but the eighty
Pareto
twenty
principle.
Pareto principle. There you go. So 80%, of your revenue or your results come from 20% of, either your effort or certain people. So there's a small percentage of these people that are going to provide a lot of business for you. So you don't have to have, a buyer's list. I used to have this, by the way, especially when I was running this full scale wholesaling operation. I had a list of like 100,000 people that I would email to, and I don't do any of that anymore. I just work with a select few people. I mean, you literally, whether you're an agent or you're an investor, if you have six really, really solid, good investors that are always looking to buy, that's enough. That literally is enough. That can provide everything you need. Don't waste your time on people that aren't going to perform. So treat those people well. And yeah, to answer your question, yeah, that's pretty much still one of the main ways that I'm able to kind of create those relationships, and everything is to provide value on the front end. So I provide them with this strategy they didn't know. Everyone else, what they're doing is they're just sending here's 123 Main Street. Here's the price. Here's the ARV. Do you want it? Well, I'm showing them there's certainly people that don't know how to do the BRRRR method. And I also, it's not just about that, but I break down all of the numbers too. And I say, okay, so this is what your mortgage payment is going to be. This is what your cash flow is going to be. So let's look at this over the course of 30 years. I know it's a long time, but let's look at it over the course of 30 years. Well, the property is going to appreciate at a minimum. Real estate is 3 to 5. So let's say 3%. It will appreciate each year. You're going to pay down that mortgage. At the end of 30 years, you're going to owe nothing on it. And the property appreciated by 3% for 30 years. So now you own this asset that's worth a ton of money, and you were cash flowing on it each and every month as well. And you did all of this for very little money out of pocket. So when you break it down and you provide a ton of value like that, it's pretty easy to get people that are raising their hands saying, hey, I'm interested. And then it's as simple as going to find a property that's going to fit that model for them.
Justin, if I had to ask you one question, I promise this is going to make sense and tie back in. If I'd ask you one question that and answer in one sentence, what's the secret to business? What would you say the secret to business is?
In one sentence, what's the secret of business? Provide value would honestly be what I would say.
Everyone listening is going to think this is scripted, but it is not.
No.
So me and Jim talk about this so much. The secret to business is provide more value than the other guy, and people are going to flock to you. And what's so amazing, you talked earlier just a few minutes ago about how you need 6 relationships. We teach a free class for agents about how taking 5 relationships to sell $5 million in real estate to make $100,000 a year. We just did our day 3 of that class this morning, right before we filmed this. And you said 6 people, and me and Jim both were just like eyes lit up. Like, guys, all you need is 5 or 6 relationships. Pour into those people, give them so much value. Get rid of the database of 500 people. You don't want to manage 500 people. You need 5 amazing people. And Justin is talking about it right here. 6 people. I really, really hope that you guys are listening to this and this is manifesting. If you can take 5 people to make $100,000 a year, quit managing 600 people, how much easier is your life? How much more fulfilled is your life? How much more of a life by design do you get to live when you just have to deal with that few people? Sorry, Justin, you can continue. I just got so excited there when you said that.
No, that's amazing. And this was not, we didn't have this conversation beforehand or anything. I had no idea that you guys had been preaching about provided value. I had no idea that you talked about 5 people, literally none of this. So that goes to show you get some successful people together and talk about what's worked for them. And that's what we've all experienced. It's true. And also it's a great point with like living the life that you want to live. That's a huge thing with it too. So you also get to choose the people you work with, by the way, too. So, you get 5 people that you just love working with. It doesn't even feel like work anymore. Like with a lot of my coaching suits, if I have a coaching call, I get done with that call and I'm like, that was awesome. Like I feel really good about it. And I'm happy like afterwards. So I actually enjoy doing it, even though it's, technically they say work, it doesn't feel like work. So you can work with who you want and you can do it on your own time, however much time you want to allot to it. That's a beauty, like with the buyer first wholesaling, is when I had this huge marketing machine built up, to take off and like go on vacation is difficult. Now it's like, okay, I can do that without a problem. I also, even though I do all my deals here locally in the St. Louis market, I could easily do these in other markets. In fact, the vast majority of the deals that I wholesale, I never personally see. So that's a beautiful thing too, is that you can do this kind of virtually. But when your overhead's extremely low, it's not that hard to produce enough revenue to meet your needs, both business and personal. And then you can really live the life that you want to live. So one thing I would like caution people to and tell them also is like, because I'm always a sucker for this type of stuff too, but you'll go on, Facebook and Instagram and stuff, and you see all of these 7-figure wholesaling companies, and it's hard to not, like strive for that. But then you realize what happens is by the way, when they say 7-figure, they're talking about gross, not the owner's profit. They're talking about gross revenue. So some of these people have a dozen team members. So they've got a ridiculous amount of overhead that they're having to pay each month. So their actual net, what they're bringing home is less than, a person who's just working by themselves and even doing this part-time instead of having to manage, a dozen people. So don't kind of fall for the numbers that people are posting, and don't, get all wide-eyed with that. I think it's much more important to live a life that you truly want to live than, slave away to work 80 hours a week in your wholesaling business to try to produce as much revenue as you can.
Sorry, Jim, go.
Yeah, so I can just support what he's saying, guys. So Ryan and I, we had a similar journey in our careers, and I wish I had somebody when I first started out telling me this, because I didn't. And it's like a quest for more. It's a quest to stroke your ego and gain significance. or at least that's what happened for me personally. Okay. And it kept being like, how do we do more deals? How do we, build the biggest, the baddest company in St. Louis that we possibly can? And we got up, guys. We got up to 588 deals in a year a few years ago. This was like 2018, maybe, when we did 588 deals. And yeah, that sounds amazing. Yeah, it can stroke my ego if I tell someone I did over 500 deals in a year, and it makes me feel like I have a big, what downstairs, right? But the truth behind that is when we did that many deals, we lost complete control over the average profit per deal because our project managers were stressed out and overwhelmed. So projects ran over on repairs. Our operations team was ready to kill us because our transaction coordinator and things. So then we had to add additional people, additional staff, additional headaches, additional problems. And we made less money that year than the following year when we looked at it and we said, we're going to intentionally and strategically make sure we're looking through our business, starting to manage our overhead a little bit better and manage the deal flow a little bit better. We did, I think, 125 less deals the next year, and we made a crap ton more money. And it, it's so like I've learned that what Justin's saying, I've learned the hard way. Ryan and I have learned that the hard way. And, you don't ever want to judge someone's outsides by your insides. Or wait, don't judge someone's outside, or don't compare someone's outside to your inside. I always mess up sayings.
Well, I love that Justin knew literally what his cost per sale was. I talked to a lot of people on our agent team about that. I think agents, especially, have no idea what their cost per sale is, and we do down to a pretty close number. And it's nice that when you're talking with agents, you can be like, hey, yeah, it's especially when you have splits on a team and things like that. You're like, it costs us, boom, this much for every single house we sell. This is our average cost per sale. And knowing that, especially early in your career, made you realize that, hey, maybe I'm not making as much money as I could. I need to figure out how to cut these expenses. And that's like, especially what Jim saw, is guys, sometimes you see these people doing huge, crazy numbers. They're not making that much money. They look flashy. They look like they're doing it. They're renting the Lamborghinis for the advertising for you to pay for the program, but they're not making that much. Trust me. I've rented Lamborghinis to drive around for the day. It don't cost that much money.
Yeah. And I actually have a mentor that has ties with it's one of the gurus that sends out like literally 100,000 plus a month on ad spend across the nation, that he got access to his books and looked at it. And even though he had over 50 coaches and he had a $10,000, $20,000 coaching program, you name it, because he had all that overhead, he wasn't even really making hardly any money. He was broadcasting to the world that he's doing all these amazing things, helping all these people out. And he had lost control because he had too big of an operation going too. So it's a really easy thing to do. And it's an easy path to fall down. So let's kind of go back to value really quick. So Justin said a little bit ago, he said, well, I break down the numbers, like what the mortgage payment is, what the cash flow is, if it's over 30 years, what that looks like. So like, is your goal to make it just as easy as possible for a buyer to buy with you? Or like, what do you think? Hey there, if you're looking to get the ultimate edge for your real estate investing company, go to doorstodeals.com/invest for more information. Just so you know, a high percentage of the people that we interview on this podcast are actually already Three Doors Network members. And our network members have a lot of extra resources. They have access to an online training vault with over 3 years worth of content in it. They have access to vendor savings like our Home Depot discount that's literally saved thousands of dollars for members. And we have a weekly group coaching call, and we have a lot of other great things as well as part of the Three Doors Network. So make sure that you check it out on doorstodeals.com/invest. Is your goal to make it just as easy as possible for a buyer to buy with you? Or like what do you think?
Yeah, what I always say is I want to make a property or a strategy look as appealing as possible without being dishonest at all. Like for one, obviously these are projections, with anything like that. But when I show them that, hey, you're buying this already with 25% equity. The deal's going to cash flow every month for you. You can do this with very little money out of pocket. And over the course of 30 years, even after taking into account the mortgage and everything, if you cash flow, so let's say, let's just do quick calculations and say you're cash flowing. I know a lot of people use $300 a month is what they're looking for. So let's say it's $300 a month times 12 months, that's $3,600 a year times the 30 years. You've got $108,000 in cash flow that you've produced. Now, remember that you're going to be paying down that mortgage every single month too. So by the end of that 30 years, you owe nothing. You owe $0 on that. Now you can obviously do like a 15-year note too if you want to get out of debt quicker. Your cash flow will be a little bit lower, but you can get out of debt. It's personal preference on that. But over the course of 30 years, the property is going to appreciate by 3%, every year. And I don't have that calculator in front of me right now, but the property is going to be worth drastically more. So when I show them that one property, yes, this is over the course of 30 years, I get it, but one property you can purchase for next to no money out of pocket, for almost no money. It can be very passive for you if you hire a property management company. And when you consider the cash flow you're going to make and then the equity you're going to have after those 30 years, when I can show you how one property will produce $400,000 from one, it does. It becomes kind of that no brainer. So yeah, that's what I like to. I break down. I love numbers too. I like just breaking that stuff down. So I break everything down to them. I do. I try to make it as easy as possible. And actually, to go along with that too, with making it easy. So what a lot of people do with the burst strategy is they'll use hard money. So I provide them with a hard money lender. I provide them with recommendations for property management, for contractors. And I always say, hey, you're welcome to use whoever you want. But if you're looking for referrals, here's a couple of people I can give you. Do with it what you want. But that goes along with the value too. So not only am I providing the property, I'm showing them what they can do with it, but I'm also providing referrals. So I'm trying to go above and beyond and do everything I can, as opposed to the other wholesaler who says cash buyers are a dime a dozen. I'm going to send out this property. I don't really care about any of them. I'm just going to take the highest offer I can get. And make sure they're closing quick with cash in 3 days. And so they don't really care about the price. So I'm taking the exact opposite approach, and I'm treating them really well. And typically those buyers are going to end up paying more. And now when you're providing the type of service and value that you can command a higher price by doing that as well. So I've had many wholesalers where they bring me a deal and they're like, yeah, the highest offer I got is, 100,000. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I can give you 105 for it. And then I can go and sell to my investor for 115. So I can make 10 grand on it and still give them 5 grand more than what they were getting with any of their other offers.
Yeah, I hate the cattle call strategy of trying to sell properties. I think you end up you get your best investors away that are going to continually buy from you. You push them out, and then you get this person who pays some crazy amount, loses money, gets out of the business, and isn't there in 3 months when you want to sell another property, and you've already pissed off all the big buyers in town that don't want to do a cattle call.
Yeah, I won't mention any names, but this was maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I went out to one of those. I didn't know who all was going to be there, but I looked at the numbers and what they were advertising the property for. The price that they were actually advertising it for was good. I mean, it looked like this was a deal that could work. So I went out there. I don't know. There were 30 investors, literally 30 investors. I submitted an offer that I think was pretty close to their asking price. And I thought it was a solid offer. And they said, no, your offer didn't win. And by the way, so I got my contractor out there. I coordinated that too. So not only did I physically go out there, but I was coordinating my contractor. So I'm wasting both of our time to go out to this property that ends up having 30 people that turns into a bidding war. And I asked after my offer, they said, yeah, you weren't even close. I wasn't even close on it. And I almost had it at asking. So I'm guessing it went, above asking, and it became this huge bidding war. This is a company that sends out a lot of properties. I have not even evaluated another one since then. That was enough to just turn me off. I'm not going to waste my time to evaluate this property, to physically go out there to see it, to have my contractor meet me out there, to take the time to write an offer and everything, to find out, oh yeah, even though we were advertising it for 100,000, it actually ended up going, like, it got bid up and it was a huge bidding war and it went for 120. I don't want to waste my time. So I have literally not looked at a single property from them since then, since that one thing. So kind of to your point, Caleb, the cattle calls it's not the way to go, in my opinion. You may make a little bit more on that one deal, but it's all about relationships. It's a relationship business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the relationship is far more important. And we try to really be cognizant of that. And and that means performing on contracts, even if we feel like we made a mistake, that maybe we're buying it too high after stuff happens. If we gave our word on something, we try and perform on that. And that's just kind of currency that comes back for sure. So, okay. So you start out, let's kind of go back to your journey. So you ended up kind of running this, less of a team. So it's just kind of yourself. Are you still solo, or do you have, take me into what your operation looks like today?
Yeah, so actually a lot of my time now is focused on my students. I realized that I could continue to do what I'm doing and kind of build myself up, make more money for myself. But there's something that was put on my heart to kind of help more people and guide them. It was one of those things that I don't know a lot of people that are talking about what my strategy involves. I don't know a lot of people that are wholesaling properties that are doing volume, doing good revenue, that aren't spending any money in seller advertising. So it was something that I wanted to have other people, help other people to do the same thing. So I'm actually doing less deals myself. I do have a VA that works for 2 hours a day. And, it's $5 an hour. So that's an expense that I have right now. But they basically help a lot with getting these leads. And then honestly, what I do the majority of the time when I get what I think is a good lead now, I just send it to my students. I might purchase it for myself because I am acquiring my own properties. But as for the wholesale stuff, I just pass it along to them because I want them to, be successful. I want them to do well with it. And also, I mean, it takes a lot less of my time when they're the ones that are, working the lead, and they get to keep the majority of the profit from it. But it also took very little of my time. So kind of to answer your question, I have a VA that works for 2 hours a day, and that's it. And most of my deals are from partnerships with my students.
Nice, man. Nice. And then that gets you kind of to the vision and the lifestyle that you want.
Yeah.
So walk me through the decision on that, still make money on my own versus helping, starting to coach and help other people out. How did you decide that was how did you make that decision that this was the new business model for yourself?
Yeah, so I feel like that was just kind of put on my heart, and I was guided towards that. I feel like basically that was kind of what God was telling me to do. I felt like He was telling me to go in that route and to help other people, and so that's kind of what got me to do it. But then um, I've received a lot of validation on that decision sense. For instance, one of my students, when he did his first, 100% solo deal, I had nothing to do with it. It was just from, the course and what I had taught before. He did a $10,000 wholesale deal where he literally worked all aspects of it. That moment, that was so rewarding to me. I was like, because I've done so many wholesale, done hundreds of wholesale deals myself. So I never got that good of a feeling with doing one, even if it was a big spread or anything. It was just like, that's okay. But to see him do it and to see the difference that, it made for him, the happiness that it created for him, that really did something for me. That was way bigger than any deal I could have done on my own. And the crazy thing about this guy too, is that he's originally from Russia, and he has a pretty strong accent. And he even admittedly struggles with English, both written and spoken, both ways. And then just like phrases, like, what does this, phrase mean, and everything. So he kind of struggles with that, but yet he was able to do a deal. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. It's just because the strategy is so easy to do. And it's, so profitable that someone who struggles with, somewhat struggles with kind of like speaking and writing the language was able to do this. And he had never done a wholesale deal before. And now within literally his first couple months, he's done 3 wholesale deals and 1 kind of burst style rental, literally within just his first couple months. So hearing that type of stuff, like when he told me that, I was like jumping for joy when he like did his first deal and made like 10. I'm like, because $10,000, for people that have been in the business for a while, like we don't get all that excited, but you kind of forget about how impactful that is for a ton of people. That's a huge check, right? That's 2 months worth of work for a lot of people. So, I think you're muted, Caleb.
Oh no, I was muted. That's 3 or 4 months work for some people.
Yeah.
$2,000, it can be a lot of money to somebody for their first deal. That's life changing.
Yeah. So like seeing that
Justin,
that was awesome.
Yeah. So my first deal I ever did was 20,000, but I had a partner. And so I made half, I made 10,000 on it. And, I was fresh out of college and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I thought I was rich, from having $10,000 in my bank account. Yeah.
My first check was 20,000 and I made $28,000 working $14 an hour when I pulled off my first deal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you almost made what you did in a year on that one deal.
I quit my job a few weeks later.
So then you guys both started shopping for Lamborghinis, right? After that first one.
I put the new wheels on the Jeep. I thought I was rich, baby. I got really good at spending money though, and I made some mistakes there.
Well, kind of along those lines, I also would recommend Profit First System. It's a book that you can read. It's called Profit First. That's a good way, because once you start, because if you're doing the right things, you are going to start bringing in revenue. You're going to start making a lot of money. And if you don't know how to handle it, that can be a problem. So remember, the government, Uncle Sam, you're going to want their cut of that and everything too. So Profit First is a really good book that will help you with that. I really enjoy it. So that's a tip for another book. So, but the Go Giver, I would say everyone should absolutely read. You can read it in a couple days. It's so simple, but the concepts are amazing, and it's a cool little story. But I highly recommend that. And then Profit First is another one that once it will get your business set up in the right way from the start. Or if you already have it, you can certainly start implementing it at any point. But if you haven't started yet, it's a great way to do that from the beginning. So then that you always know that you have, kind of money to pay for bills. And it tells you how much you can actually kind of keep as your profit, here, the X amount of money is you can go and spend that on whatever you want, because that's what, you make. But every dollar basically has an account for it. But I don't want to get into too much detail on it, but check out Profit First is a good way to kind of manage your money when you're running a
Nice. I love
business.
that. What would you say is your number one tip that you would give to somebody just starting out about finding deals?
About finding deals?
Yep.
Okay, so I will give you can I do the three main ways that I find deals?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So we'll call them 1A, 1B, and 1C. So it's just one, right? So yeah, the main ways that I find deals, they're pretty simple, but the lowest hanging fruit, kind of the easiest one, the Facebook groups. Yeah, you guys all probably know about them, but like for the St. Louis area, there's St. Louis Real Estate Investing, STL Real Estate Investing, St. Louis Real Estate Investors. You just have to do variations on that. There's one that's a wholesalers network, but just whatever your market is, whatever your area is. So like if it's Atlanta, type in Atlanta real estate investing or ATL real estate investing, and just join as many groups as you can. People post properties for sale in there all the time. But here's the big tip. It's not just about that. It's not about finding the deals that are listed. Yes, you can sometimes still find a good deal doing that, but this is crucial. So you want to do a couple things, two things really. Anytime you see a property for sale, go in and post your email address in the comment section. And so that's so you get more information on that particular property. But there are tons of other wholesalers that are in these groups and they're scrubbing for those email addresses. And that's a good thing. You want them to send you properties. You want to evaluate, as many properties as you can. Because I can evaluate a property within 2 minutes to know if it's something that like I'm, say, for instance, thinking about purchasing myself, I may analyze it in a little more detail. But if I do a quick snapshot 2-minute analysis and I see, well, this thing is full retail price, I'm just going to move on to the next one. So post your email in the comment section so they publicly see it, then private message the person and private message them and ask for more information on the property, but then also like kind of make an introduction. And your goal here is to get their contact info. Give them yours, first, and then say, add me to your buyers list. And then, hey, what's your contact info so I can add you to, save you in my phone. And so then you save them in your phone as so-and-so wholesaler. And now you're going to build up a database of people that are labeled as wholesaler. And so then once a week or so, you go in and you text those people and say, hey, what do you have available right now? Do you have any new properties for sale? And a lot of the times by doing that and reaching out to them directly, they haven't advertised this thing publicly yet. Because let's be honest, nobody really wants to go onto Facebook and post a property. They would much rather just have that one buyer they can send it to and know that it's sold. That's way easier instead of going on Facebook. And I mean, I've literally had properties that I've posted on there before where I've had 80, 90 comments on it. And it takes forever to send them all information on it. And most of these people aren't serious. So nobody really wants to do that. So then you put them in your phone and now you're reaching out to them directly. And when you reach out to them directly, you have a lot better chance of getting these fully off-market properties. So the Facebook groups, wholesalers, and then the other one would be agents. Agents are a good source of providing deals as well. So you can reach out to the agent. Here's a big tip too. Remember, you don't have to pay this unless you actually get a deal out of it, but tell them, I'll pay you $10,000 commission for any property you bring me that I buy. That's going to be extremely motivating for them versus the 2.7% on a $40,000 property. They're making next to nothing on it. So if you can tell them, I'll pay you $10,000 commission, that's going to be really motivating for them to bring you properties. And I partner with a lot of other wholesalers. So like they're going to have their markup in there anyway. So they probably already have a $10,000 markup. So if I'm direct to seller now, because the agent has contacted me, I could just consider that $10,000 fee I'm paying them. It's basically the same thing as like partnering with another wholesaler. So offer to pay them. And it'll take a little while to kind of build up that network of realtors and stuff. But same thing we've been talking about is with wholesalers or agents or any people like that, 5-6 of those contacts can supply you with enough inventory. You just kind of have to do the initial reaching out to figure out who those 5 to 6 are going to be.
So we interviewed Nita last week. She bought a flip from an agent. She's an agent, and she let an agent know that she wanted to buy. Bought a flip to the profits $150,000 on. Awful.
Nice.
Yeah, just from networking with an agent. So I love that one because I think too often people they look past how powerful. I'm an agent. I wrote an offer on a deal I closed on next week with the other agent. I used him because I'm like, here, I know you'll push my offer further.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And think about this too, like the off-market properties that an agent gets. So they call them pocket listings, off-market listings. So you can, when you contact these agents, you can call it either one of those. They don't really want to list. They want to list the properties that are in prime condition that they know they can throw on the MLS and they're going to be sold in like a day. Most of the time, they don't want to mess with these distressed properties. And those are the ones as investors that we're actually really looking for. So if you tell them, hey, if you ever get a lead of someone that's looking to sell their house, but it's distressed and it needs some work, that's when you let me know. And, if I get a deal out of it, I'll pay you $10,000 commission on it.
I love that. That's awesome.
So you will get, from those 3 strategies alone, you will get as many deals as you can handle, as long as you're consistent with it. That's a huge thing in business in general, but you got to be consistent with what you're doing. And that's what I remember one of my students basically said the same thing. He started getting all of these deals and he's posting all these deals that he has for sale. And the other students are like, man, how are you getting all these? And he goes, I just did exactly what he said to do. Like in the videos, like I actually did it and implemented it. And so that's the important thing, is that you actually have to physically do it. But he gets all kinds of deals. Same thing with him. He actually has a full-time job too, so he doesn't have very much time to spend into this. But he now, I think he's done about 5 deals, 3 wholesale, and then 2 for buy and hold. I actually have a guy who will fund 100% of like my students' deals and everything. Literally, they don't have to come out of pocket with a cent. It's not hard money or anything like that. So he's acquired 2 of those too, and he's got a full-time job. So, but the important thing is that on these, the steps are easy, but they're not simple, I guess, because most people just won't do it. So as long as you take the action,
it's all about action and
do
habits.
those things. Yeah, and consistency. Yeah.
All right, so I have a question I like to ask people, and we're kind of getting on time here. So, so if you kind of like had to give yourself one piece of advice, you just had like one sentence to give yourself when you're just starting out in real estate 10 plus years ago, one piece of advice to follow, what would that be?
Yeah, if I was just starting out, I mean, it's still, honestly, it really does go back to providing value. That would honestly probably be the number one. But since I've touched on that a couple times, I would say keep overhead low. Keep overhead low. Be efficient. Be profitable. So when you were talking about these other companies and how they've scaled up, and now they're producing a ton of revenue, but their expenses are also through the roof. And by the way, I've heard that story too. I don't know if it's the same person, but that you were talking about earlier, Jim, about how they have this massive operation. And when you look at their actual net numbers, it's not that good. Really not that good. And think how many headaches you have when you've got that many employees and stuff. So,
provide value,
I would talk,
keep your revenue low, or keep your expenses low.
Yeah, let's not keep
not revenue, wrong. keep your keep your overhead low. Okay.
Yeah. Keep your expenses low. Provide value. Keep your overhead low and provide a ton of value, and you'll definitely do well.
All right. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, how do they get a hold of you, man?
Yeah. So I actually, for anyone that's, understanding or listening to this call, if they want to, they can literally schedule a strategy session with me. One thing that feel like I'm pretty good at, from experience is actually creating like an action plan, actionable steps that someone can take. So everyone has different situations. So I actually want to learn a little bit about your situation, because some people have time, but they don't have any money. Other people have money, but they don't have time. Maybe they have a full-time job. And so based on your specific needs, I want to, help to tailor an action plan that you can put into place right away. So happy to have a one-on-one call with anyone. If they just go to buyerfirstwholesaling.com, you can go ahead and book a call with me, directly with me. And I will do everything I can to try to help you out. So yeah, it's just buyerfirstwholesaling.com.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Justin.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. So that's a wrap. Today's episode and all the resources that we have available for you can be found on doorstodeals.com/060. If you're out there trying to figure this whole real estate game out, we can help you. We can help you crush deals. We can help you crush deals. We can help you crush your fears. We can help you get to the next level. So make sure that you go to doorstodeals.com/060 for information on how you can get cash on deals, how you can wholesale deals to us, how we can help you put together deals that you might think are dead, and all the other great resources that we have available for agents and you name it. So we're here to help, and don't forget, go out, live your purpose, and above all else, go after your dreams. Till next time. Thanks for tuning into this show. For more episodes and resources that will unlock doors to deals, check out our website, doorstodeals.com.